second way to get an expedite on your delayed DACA application for renewal of deferred action is to request that USCIS consider the medical hardship that would fall on you or others close to you if your DACA were not renewed on time. We've had much more success with medical expedites because they are more unique, they are more personal, they are often more weighty when we explain it to immigration requesting an expedite. So, what might that mean? So, the first thing I ask clients is, do you have any pill bottles at home, medicines that you take? Photographs of those medicine bottles can be easier to obtain sometimes than a doctor's letter to explain what they are for. So sometimes we'll have our client will typically draft a letter for our client about the medical hardship that they'll experience, but medicines that they wouldn't be able to access if they lose their job, their health insurance, or don't have money to pay for those medicines, even if they didn't have health insurance in the first place. That is like one of the number one things that we're talking about because continuity of medication can be critical. Even for some, I would consider to be like light medications, having to end your medication like cold turkey can have deathly effects. So I'll give you an example. Wellbutrin is the common anxiety medication. I think it also has some implications to like help with smoking cessation, to quit smoking, some other things. So if you're taking Wellbutrin, even a low dose, that's not like something that people look at as like a life-saving medicine, right? It's not cancer treatment. But if you explain in the letter that not being able to afford your next Wellbutrin prescription for the month, if your employment ends due to DACA delays, well, you can't explain that the consequence of cold turkey, like quitting immediately that medication without being able to taper it down, the consequences to that can be significant. Now, I'm not a doctor, but you can go ahead and Google what the consequences are of quitting medication cold turkey. Oftentimes, it can be death, suicidal ideation, headaches, trouble breathing. There are lots of different things. I'm not talking about the specific medication right now, but there are a lot of things that you can pull up related to from the website of that uh, manufacturer of that medication that will show you what the warnings are related to having to end medication. So I would suggest if you're talking about a medical expedite that you not just say, again, not legal advice, but as an attorney, what we're often looking at is we're trying not to just say this person needs this type of medication for diabetes or for blood pressure or for cholesterol or for anxiety, but the consequences of losing that medication would have severe, even potential death consequences to the person if they can't access it anymore. In order to do an expedite request, you're typically going to need to call USCIS and put in the request. And then they'll usually give you an opportunity to mail in the related documentation for the medical expedite. If you don't have any documentation to send them, not a bill, not a receipt, no pill bottles, no letter from a doctor or a clinician, it's really hard to get that medical expedite to go through. There's usually communication that happens related to emailing or mailing in that supporting documentation, just depends on what customer service is requesting that day. And then eventually you'll hear back related to it. And of course, for those of you who are doing online filings, then there may be uploads and uploaded notifications there with your final answer.